Hi everyone, this is Mooshkat and welcome to my first video on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to introduce myself. Obviously, I just said my name was Mooshkat. You could call me Moosh, call me Cat, she, they, pronouns. I'm just a mushroom. Don't get too serious about it. So, I am a nerd. I like to talk about anthropology, I like to talk about history, video games, I like Star Wars a lot. I like to talk about the political intricacies of lots of different fandoms. Warhammer 40k is one of those, and I really am just an all-around kind of person when it comes to my interests. Like, I am interested in World War I to World War II aviation, as well as I am very much interested in how to weave, how to crochet, how to do all of these different things. Like, I'm all over the place. What I'm trying to say is this channel is kind of going to be all over the place too. But I will have plenty of different kinds of all over the place. We're going to do something like this video where I talk about a certain subject and then we it's more of an opinion than a researched thing. I'm not actually teaching, I am telling. And you can disagree with me, you can agree with me, whatever you'd like. I would love to hear your thoughts on this subject today, but before we get to that, my other types of videos will possibly be video game retrospectives, because I very much like older video games. Newer video games are great too, but I am, 90s child, you know how we are, very nostalgic. So what I also will be doing is some history videos, some maybe alternate history videos based around the New Doggerland areas, due to I have a partner who is actually creating a tabletop around that, and I would like to create some additional lore to help them along. And maybe I will also be doing some D&D content. I am a big fan of dragons, mythical creatures, but I have gone on for almost 3 minutes about myself, and that is the most I normally talk about myself ever. So, on to today's subject. What I want to talk to you guys about is my theory that liminal spaces are a part of the cause of different, very overarching fears. Some of them are like thalassophobia. The very most common one I hear people talking about is fear of the ocean. And then there is, of course, agoraphobia, which is the fear of wide open spaces. And then kind of a little less talked about is astrophobia. Did I say that right? Okay, yes, I did say that right. Astrophobia. The fear of, like, the big, wide open vastness of space. In my opinion, it's very much due to the fact that liminal spaces are usually wide open, even if they are indoors. Like, take the back rooms. That has so many twisting, tight little hallways, but then you just step out into this large office space clearing, or suddenly you're on a lonely neighborhood drive with no cars, lights on in every house, nothing's happening. You go into a house, nothing's happened in that house for who knows how long. There's dust everywhere. You're walking along. What's going to happen? You don't know. It's just an innate fear that I believe it calls back to something more primal than just, ooh, spooky, scary place. Ah, man, I'm all by myself. Oh no. We a space that's so wide open, it's not able to be contained so easily, like the ocean, for example. Nothing in that can be contained. We don't know what's out there because we can't see past a certain amount. The sun only reaches so far down, and we don't know what is in that abyss, especially since the ocean itself is a desert in so many words. There are wide swaths where it's nothing but water. You're very lucky to see floating piles of jetsam and little bits of fish that are around that, and then maybe the odd predator and bird around there. But unless you're near an island, you are not going to see anything. And that absolute foreboding loneliness that comes with that is a part of this thalassophobia, of getting lost at sea, and partially what lies within the deep. So I believe that liminal spaces are somewhat hardwired to be a place of unease for us. Agoraphobia is kind of, I believe, a result of the old days when we were more hunter-gatherers and we weren't really as sheltered. Like, of course, we would build rudimentary shelters to keep the rain off of us, or hide in a cave or something. It wasn't a complete, we're just laying on the ground outside under the stars. Oh no. It's hard to not imagine that anxiety of, especially if you're with a family unit crossing a large, wide open prairie that there's sight for miles, but in that tall grass, you have no idea what's there. You don't know what's coming. And so, unfortunately, I've seen some documents talking about generational trauma being passed down through DNA. Some people may have that a little bit stronger than others, which may result in the more extreme fear of agoraphobia, which can be crippling and unfortunate for the people affected. My heart goes out to anyone dealing with agoraphobia. You are not alone in your struggles, and if you need to reach out, you should definitely do so. There is definitely hope and help for you. But moving on, I think the next thing we should really talk about, since I talked about thalassophobia kind of in depth, I really like the ocean, so that one kind of skipped to the front of the board. I meant to do agoraphobia first, but here we are. And so, the last thing is astrophobia, the fear of space. This one is not so much what lies within space, but you could argue it is also that if you are someone who believes in the possibility of intelligent life in the universe besides us humanoids. It's hard to prove that, so I can't really talk too hard about that. Like, the people at SETI are doing amazing work in trying to find their own proof. You should definitely go check them out because they are wonderful people, very patient people looking for something that may or may not exist, especially since people portray them as, the weirdos out in Antarctica listening to space static, trying to see if there's a radio signal. But I would argue that the fear of space as a liminal place is more the fact that if anything goes wrong, you're gone. You slip. You're not clipped onto whatever you're there. You're floating at the mercy of whatever gravitational pull you get caught into, if you even get caught into one at all. So you are floating, and oxygen is just steadily being used up, and you just have to wait for everything to shut down you to shut down, or maybe you get hit with space debris and your suit is compromised and it's just over like that. It's a hard thing to pinpoint because not a lot of people are able to actually go out into space. So it may also not just be those two things that I just mentioned. It could be that existential dread that sets in. That's kind of why cosmic horror is so effective. It makes you think about more than just, oh man, there's a guy coming after me. It makes you think about the implications of what is being presented to you, and that is part of the reason why cosmic horror is so fun, in my opinion, but that's sidetracking. Astrophobia is kind of a tricky one to pin down just because there's not a lot of people who talk about having debilitating astrophobia, especially not astronauts or cosmonauts or whatever your country or nation's way of calling people who sail the stars. I don't really remember any of them talking about being terrified. It's more of a wondrous, but is that two sides of the same coin? I guess I'll let you decide. So I would actually like to sum this video up as liminal space is a very deep-rooted thing that I believe we are having fun with now, but back in the day, people were very scared of liminal spaces. But now, liminal spaces can look like anything from an empty office building, a gas station at night on an empty highway cutting through the cornfields of the Midwest, or even just an empty city plaza at 4 a.m. when nobody else is there, and all you can hear is your own footsteps echoing against the buildings around you, and you can feel the hair on the back of your neck raising up. For whatever reason, there is also an innate fear of the dark, but I feel that that's a different episode entirely with a different set of primal innate fears. What I'm trying to say is liminal spaces have always been tricky. They've always been transitional, and us humans, we like it when things are neat and filed in their place when it comes to locations. When we don't know where we're at, we start to panic. And so when a prairie starts looking the same after days of travel, that can get very scary because you don't know if you're near where you need to be or not. There's so many things, like on the ocean, like I mentioned in the beginning of this discussion, I can't imagine being on a raft and not seeing birds, not seeing any sort of life underneath me. All of those movies where it shows these resourceful castaways sitting on their raft and fishing, that might not happen. Usually smaller fish like that are only on coral reefs, or they're, like I said, with jetsam that is floating along the surface, creating shelter for juvenile fish, etc., etc. There's lots of things that live in those little pockets, and unfortunately, it's hard to tell when you're going to encounter it because the ocean is literally a huge desert with small oases across the entire world. Every coral reef is an oasis of life and energy, and then you go maybe a mile or two out and it's like it never existed. So liminal spaces are very strange, very interesting. I very much enjoy talking about them, as you can tell. I meant for this to be a 10-minute video. I've gone 5 minutes over that. I'm not too upset about it, though. I'll probably pare this down a little bit. So when I say 5 minutes, pretend I said whatever number it is over 10 minutes. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me ramble about liminal spaces. I hope you come back for another video. If you liked what I had to say and want to hear more of it, please subscribe, and maybe I will be back with something about a mythological creature, or who knows. Maybe I will wax poetic about my favorite old Squaresoft game, Final Fantasy VIII. Have a great day, night, time zone, wherever you're at. Mooshkat is done.